we've got a new roadmap, a new year, and some new hope. Find out what I'm talking about as I hereby summon all my imps to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So, there is a brand new roadmap that has just come out for Marvel Snaps, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff in it. So, there are 3 different sections in this roadmap. We're going to talk about only the coming soon part and a little bit of in development and a little bit of in concept, but I don't want to talk too much about in development or in concept, as those things might not happen or might be way down the past road. So let's talk about the stuff in coming soon, because that's the stuff that actually is pretty much gonna happen. We're going to start with the first part on here, which is the character mastery. So what character mastery is, and what it does is, it lets you have a lot more agency over what characters are, and it makes it so that when you split a character or get another version of a character, you get more and more rewards for that. So, I am really excited about this. Part of the reason I'm really excited about this particular thing is because, for all of you who don't know, I own a lot of Agatha. This is how many times I've split Agatha. I'm still going. I have every single variant of Agatha that exists. So, I'm really looking forward to having some other things in here. I hope that they'll put more splits in Agatha. I'm also hoping there might be some way, because what I would really like, if there was some sort of variant you could get from doing this enough. As much as I enjoy the fact of having new backgrounds and new cosmetic effects, I would love to see if by doing this you could get like some maybe special variant that's the only way you could get it for each card. I love that because I think that'd be good dedication for the card. I'm also interested to find out how hard it's gonna be for you to unlock some of this stuff. I know there's gonna be stuff in the beginning that's gonna be easy, but I also feel that as you get higher and higher, you're gonna have a harder time finding stuff. Like, it's gonna start out with like maybe you need like 3 splits. That's gonna go up to like 9 and then 12 and then maybe like 20 and then like 50. I really hope that you don't have to split a card 157 cards just to get some reactions. I hope reactions is right near the beginning, honestly. Next thing that we're going to talk about here is the next one up, which is album improvement. So the album has been one of those things that I've talked about, that other people have talked about, that other people have complained about, that I've complained about. Because one of the problems with albums is if you look at the albums, most of them are really hard to complete. Like, look at the health bar. You've got to get so many cards that you never owned before. All these cards came out only with health bar. Even if you look at the first one that came out with the Venomized variant, I don't know of anybody out there to this day that really wants to get this Paramoda. I mean, some of the stuff that's going to come out with the albums are some of the suggestions that I made in the past, where you can actually have an album where it's all the stuff from Dan Hip. And maybe they'll have better rewards in there that are more dedicated to having just 10 Dan Hip cards or 20 Dan Hip cards. It's not based around just what albums you pick. Because from what I'm reading on this with the Big Daddy album, the parent albums as they're calling them, I really hope it's not, you need this Dan Hip, you need to own this collection and have this album filled. Then you need another Dan Hip with another collection filled. That's what I'm really hoping with. And for that, it's not just you have to have this collection done and this collection done. And if you own 4 collections, you get another reward. I really hope it comes down. You just need to own 12 cards, or you need to own 15 Dan Hip cards. Or you need to own 20 Dan Hip cards. I wish that's where it will be. Now they say that they're going to make some ones that are smaller. I really hope that is true. I just hope that the ones that come out that are smaller aren't super rare cards to get. I also really hope with this that they'll make more interesting ones. I know one of the albums that's coming out with the next upcoming season is actually going to be a pixel album. So we'll see how that works out. Next up for us in the coming soon is in-game events. If done right, this will be one of the best things to happen in the game. Now, when Marvel Snap first came out, they did have a couple of interesting in-game events, but a lot of them were just boring stuff where it was just stuff like win 10 games in a day or something like that. I know there was the DJ battle that was kind of an in-game event. I also know that there was one with Chinese New Year. But they were all just win X amount of battles to get cubes or get a prize. I would almost like it if there was something else better out there where it wasn't just play, let's say for example, you did X-Men versus the Brotherhood. And you had one team that if you played with Magneto in your deck, you get a cube for that victory. And another team where Professor X is in your deck, you get a cube for the victory. I don't want that. I want something more interesting. If you're going to do in-game events, I want it to be more than just have this card in your deck to represent this tribe. So, if they do it right, it's going to be interesting and bring the community together. If they do it wrong, it might even break the community more apart. Next up for us is selectable card effect. So, selectable card effect is going to make it so that if you own a card, let's say you own Angel, you you can maybe choose whether or not it has certain effects on it. Like, if you just want it to be a pure golden card, maybe you can have that on, or maybe you can even have double effects on in the future. Or you could have a flare and a crackle. Mostly for the selectable effects, they're not talking about a lot. When you look at the selectable effects, they're going to add some new ones that are going to come out. The other thing that they're doing is one of the things that everybody's been asking for since the beginning, which are the selectable borders. Now, if you like this Apocalypse with this border, you don't have to worry about making it go higher and never splitting this again, because you're worried about ruining its effect. I got a perfect example for this. This Psylocke I have not touched in a long time. And I just love how it looks with this pure black border. I'd love to get it to be the 3D and still have that pure black border, so that's what's going to happen in the future. Also, they're talking about new infinite splits, which is nice. And they're talking about collectible reactions. Most of the collectible reactions are going to come from the first part, which is going to be the character mastery. I don't think you're going to get the character reactions any other way. I do hope that partly also what they bring out is more emotes that are easier to get. I want to have a few emotes that the only way that you need to get them is just on the season pass for the freebie players. Or like a Twitch drop for some reason. I'd like to see some of those emotes come out that way. I'd also like to see some of those reactions come out that way. So that's the stuff that's in coming soon, which basically means that that stuff is almost completely set in stone. Next, we're going to talk about a few things in development, which are the clans. And what really interested me about the clans is the fact that if you have clans, you kind of need a friends feature. And everybody's been asking for a friends feature, including myself. So I have some hope that in order for clans to exist, you need to have a friends ability. Next up, they have collectible borders. And one thing about the collectible borders that I hope they do, I hope they make some animated borders. One of the things that I would love to see is I would love to see, like, for example, Cyclops, who had a border where he shoots his beam and it runs around the entire border, where you kind of see it like run around the border like a little visor. It shoots out his beam and runs around the border. Or a Captain America, where they put a little like pixel in the corner that threw a shield and it bounced around the entire corner. Like it bounced around the entire corner and then he caught it again. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Also, with one of the things for in development, they did talk about, with some of the character mastery, adding a pseudo achievement board where basically some of the cards will have like certain quests available to them. The one they talked about in the game, in the patch I should say, in the notes I should say, is having Deadpool hit over 100 in a single game. So that's interesting, and if they're all interesting like that, that's not bad. I hope that they all are interesting. They might have some like easy ones to do. Like play Deadpool like 10 times just for some of the easier ones. What I like most about this is this is not something that money can buy at all. You can put as much money as you want in the game and you're not going to get this achievement. Some of the ones that I have thought about for this is first for just funness, getting Cyclops to move. Anybody who doesn't understand the joke of why getting Cyclops to move would be funny, that would be a funny one. Another one would be get Red Skull to give your opponent plus 12. So that way you have to find a way of like playing him on a double ongoing location. Another interesting one that I had was with Artemzilla. If I have Artemzilla, destroy an Artemzilla. Kind of an interesting one. Not hard to get, but interesting to get. And the last one that I had was for Spider-Man. They have Spider-Man move to all 3 locations in one game. Kind of interesting stuff that have the pseudo achievement board that you can have in the future. As long as most of them are interesting, I'll be happy. I understand that some of them will have to be like boring ones, like play a card X amount of times. But as long as they don't all turn into get Spider-Man to plus 100, get Red Skull to plus 100, get Artemzilla to plus 100. I'll be happy if there's a lot of interesting ones in there. Other thing I wanted to talk about with the in development is the booster Vats. And this kind of really upsets me to kind of a way. Because the fact that they're putting in booster Vats means that they basically have killed any hope of there being a booster magnet. So a long time ago, they talked about putting booster magnets in the game. Or basically, you can put like a booster magnet on Spider-Woman. And then if you threw her in your deck at all, she'd get all the boosters, or like at least 3/4 of the boosters as long as she was in your deck. The nice thing about the Vats is if I'm reading it correctly, which I can always be reading stuff wrong, by the way. And they might change. Is with the booster Vats, you can pick somebody who's not even in your deck to give these booster Vats to. But I'm kind of like not sure how that works. I mean, if they need to be in your deck, which would make sense. But the way it reads is it says, pick a booster Vat size you want to use, pick a character you want to target, and then complete an objective to crack open the booster Vat and collect your variant. So I'm not sure if they have to be in your deck. I partly want them to be in your deck, and I partly don't want them to be in the deck. The number of cards that I have that I would love to get some neat splits on, that I have no intention of ever playing in my deck, is high. I don't know how many of you out there would love to have like an interesting Dazzler. Or like maybe you have a Gambit, but you really don't like playing Gambit. Maybe you have a Hawkeye, like this Hawkeye I love. But I really can't ever figure out a deck to throw Hawkeye in. But the few times that I do want to play him, I'd like this card to look better. So there's a part of me that hopes that you do need Hawkeye in your deck, because that would make sense. But there's also a part of me that hopes that you don't need Hawkeye in your deck, just so you can get whatever variant you want to look better without playing them all the time. Another thing in development I'm interested about is the in-game graveyard. And this is only because this goes along with the one thing in concept that I want to talk about, which is the new card mechanic. I honestly think that the reason they're putting an in-game graveyard into the game is they're actually going to introduce a brand new mechanic to the game soon, which deals with resurrection. Either cards that pull characters out of the graveyard, or cards that get stronger with characters in the graveyard. Because that would mean a lot. That's a good reason to put in a graveyard into a game, so you can use it as a mechanic in the future. Kind of like Devil Dinosaur works, but now you make another card that's a 5/3 that gets +2 for each card in your graveyard. Or you make cards more like Phoenix Force, where it actually pulls the card from your graveyard. I also think Phoenix Force will get a kind of a rework on just wording when this happens, if this happens. Also, one of the mechanics that I would love to see if they do in the future is if they brought in more mechanics, like Bucky Barnes becoming Winter Soldier. I would love to see, like, I know this doesn't work for the game right now, but I would love to see something if they did, like, a Bruce Banner that became the Hulk, or an Iron Man that used to be Tony Stark. I know some of those cards exist, and I don't want them to do it for those cards, but there are other cards that I think could tell a story like that. Also, there's one mechanic that I would kind of like them to see. I'd like to see some mechanic where it's kind of like you need 2 cards in your deck to make it work. A card that was basically 2 cards in one. So if for example, if I put Sentry in my deck, it actually put the Void in my deck also. So it took up 2 slots. So as soon as I put this in my deck, it puts Sentry in my deck, and that's what Word would represent like the Void. So if you're gonna play Sentry, you're already taking up 2 slots. I think that's a way they can make some very powerful cards. Some more interesting cards if certain cards automatically took up 2 slots in your deck. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, remember, play for fun.